That's right, my friends. It is almost the week of Crown Jewel, so we have to predict the thing and prove that even though I, Simon Miller, am a massive nerd, not very good when it comes to predicting pro wrestling. Now, of course, I am recording this before Raw just because next week I have such a crazy schedule and I don't want this video not to go up because they're my favorite videos to do. But as I do speak to you, we have 7 matches. Now, as we know, Triple H's WWE loves to do 5 matches on the PLE, so I actually don't think we're going to get any more whatever we do on Raw, and next week's SmackDown will just be to benefit these matches. So, we shall start with a random one that I will find, which shall be Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax, champion versus champion, which, of course, the winner gets that awful-looking Saudi belt. Now, I actually think this is going to be a card of shenanigans. I am booking a lot of nonsense, which is going to wind some people up. But again, as long as the story works, I do not mind. And after it's been said to me around about 72,942 times, I think, yeah, Tiffany Stratton should cash in her Money in the Bank briefcase. It's time. The main reason for this is twofold. Firstly, I don't think that either Liv Morgan or Nia Jax is going to benefit from their own feuds if one beats the other. I mean, you could probably do it after the fact, but again, I think there needs to be so much ridiculousness in this that if you were going to sit down and debate it like a sportscaster, you'd be like, well, I can't really tell you who was the better of the two here, because again, we injected it with a pile of ridiculousness. But after Tiffany Stratton was off that SmackDown and Nia Jax was like, you don't get to fight Naomi now, I've got Candice LeRae, I think Tiffany Stratton has enough in her bonnet, given that Jax has been so horrible to her since she did win that thing, to cash in on Nia. And then, again, she could even make a video. Wrestlers love doing that, going into Premiere Pro and editing things and saying, listen to all the things you did do to me. I couldn't handle it anymore. I guess the interesting thing is, if she does cash in, she could technically pin Liv Morgan to win that championship. So you could tease that when that match is on, but then ultimately, you could even do it as a fluke, maybe. Maybe Dominic Mysterio does something, or Rhea Ripley's there and she does something, or Liv Morgan does something, and then Nia Jax is laid out, and Tiffany looks left, Tiffany looks right, and she just pins her. And I think that would suit her character. She's not someone that needs to have a dominant victory or anything like that. She's actually more funny when she's doing silly things. And a lot of the times we have teased the cash-in, she's done that little jump, she's kind of ran like a cartoon, and I think that makes it all the more entertaining. So I'm going to go with the Tiffany Stratton cash-in. I think sometimes these things just come to us even if that wasn't the plan. Like, I'm convinced that maybe we were going to wait till 2024. But right now, I think the women's division on SmackDown actually gets more interesting if Tiffany Stratton cashes in. And yeah, all of a sudden, Nia Jax isn't the champion. And maybe she can go back to being a more mean heel. She's been a bit funny, although I do like comedic Nia Jax. I think she's fantastic. I think Nia's had a great 2024, which is kind of the same for everybody in this match. Liv Morgan has smashed it out the park too. And if you can involve Rhea Ripley in there, I don't think it would be the worst thing ever. So I'm going to say the winner, wrestling is the best, the winner of Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax is Tiffany Stratton. Go and explain that to someone who doesn't watch sports entertainment. They'll be like, what are you talking about? It's like there's Premier League football, soccer this weekend. It's Arsenal versus Liverpool. It's like going, the winner is Man City. What are you talking about? But actually, that's something we should do. We're also going to get Seth frickin' Rollins versus Big Bronson Reed, because everybody needs to have a nickname. And I actually think this one is super simple, because we have 2 big events after this, 3 big events after this. Survivor Series, then you have Saturday night's main event, and then you have the first Raw on Netflix. And the rumor is all of these are going to be treated like pay-per-views, PLEs, because the Raw Rumble's not till early February, and we're not going to do anything before then, because we have these 3 events. Which means, if you are going out to Saudi Arabia, and you are having the first match between these 2, Bronson Reed needs to win. I don't care how he wins. I don't care if he cheats. I don't care if he acts like an a-hole. I don't care if he somehow cuts Seth Rollins' hair. And Seth Rollins is so annoyed by his appearance because we hold a mirror up, Bronson Reed gets the tsunami 1, 2, 3. But after everything that Bronson Reed has done, and let's not forget he didn't technically win the last Monster Standing match because of Seth, I don't think you want to lose any of that momentum. Now, the reason people like that fight so much between him and Braun Strowman is because while there were winners and losers, everybody else came out the other end feeling like a star. But if you put Bronson Reed in a match with someone who is a super duper whooper mega star and they lose, you do run the risk of putting them back down the Mortal Kombat ladder. I don't want to do that. And again, Seth Rollins is so over. He's always going to be over. He is a legacy star these days. So I think you need to come up with a really creative finish where Bronson Reed feels like a monster, not like a no contest, oh my gosh, he's beating him up so much. I need a 1, 2, 3. And then sure, because then this will have even more fire behind it. You could do it against Survivor Series with a stipulation. You could do it on Saturday night's main event, or you could do it on that first Netflix. You could even have 3 matches. Bronson wins the first one, Seth wins the second one, then you do the rubber match, or you could do Bronson, Seth. I wouldn't mind that either, because sometimes with wrestling, especially because by that point we'll be entering 2025, even though Seth Rollins would be 2-1 down, because he won the last one and probably goes into a program with CM Punk, he's still going to feel, again, on top of the world. But I really think Bronson Reed needs to win. Maybe I'm speaking more with my heart here, but we have also established the tsunami as a death move. In fact, that's what we should do going forward. If anyone gets hit with the tsunami, that's it. You're out, and therefore you don't feel like a loser, because anybody would lose. So I'm very passionate about this. Bronson Reed has to win. This is me trying to manifest things into existence. And look, this is a match that doesn't need any nonsense in it. So even though I have nonsense throughout the rest of the show, it could just be a win-loss situation. I don't think that's a problem. We also are going to get LA Knight versus Andrade versus Carmella Hayes for the US Championship. Of course, it ties into Game 7, which didn't have an end because LA Knight lost his mind. That's why I think he's going to lose. That's right, I said it. I think we're getting a title change, which would be kind of nuts because that's 2 title changes on Crown Jewel, which is a lot, and maybe there'll be another one too. But I think sometimes you need to be held responsible for your actions, and if LA Knight hadn't have done that, he could have fought even Carmella Hayes or Andrade as opposed to both of them. But given that we did do the best of 7, and Andrade and Carmella are kind of on the same level, because it is technically 2-2 or 3-3, whatever the flub it is, I think that one of them should win. And I think it should be one of those ridiculous 3-way finishes where LA Knight is about to win, and then Andrade does something, and then Carmella Hayes does something else, and maybe even ends up with Carmelo pinning Andrade. So you're kind of protecting LA Knight, which I would imagine you want to do. Maybe Andrade has been hit with 742 finishes. What I am saying is I think we should give it to Carmelo Hayes. I think he just benefits more than Andrade, and that's not a diss to Andrade. I think it's just because Andrade's been around longer, and I'm going to stop saying his name Andrade. Whereas Carmelo Hayes got called up 4, 5, 6 months ago, and he lost to Cody Rhodes, and he has been doing very well. But I just think he's at a place where I think he's cemented himself with the main roster audience. I think his fans of NXT are still behind him. And it just, once again, it kind of goes back to what we just said. Sometimes it's just right place, right time. And when I sat down and meditated on this, like a right freak, I was like, I think Carmelo Hayes would be the person to benefit the most. Once again, you just need to come up with a creative finish, and I think they should be able to do that. If nothing else, you know they're going to have a great match because LA Knight is really, really good, and Carmelo Hayes and Andrade should be married. They have so much chemistry, or at least teaching science. And look, I hate saying this, but it's true. It also appeases the Saudi Arabia people because they want these cards, because they are paying so much money, to feel like WrestleMania quality events. Again, different conversation for a different day. But if I was in charge and I had all this information, I would get to that following SmackDown going into Survivor Series, and I would have Carmella Hayes the United States champion. I think, once again, it just puts him on a pedestal that he hasn't had so far. And Andrade can beat him at one of these shows we've already talked about. Maybe even hold it off till the Royal Rumble. But again, I'm not done seeing them fight, even though they have fought a lot. LA Knight kind of then hovers around. You don't want to lose his momentum either, because again, he's mega over. So that's important though, right? This championship, as I smuttle over my words, is kind of now getting to that place where the Intercontinental title was in 2023, where more skilled people are fighting over it. And because they really want it, it doesn't just feel like a token prize anymore. It feels like even if someone said, dude, I need to put everything on hold to try and win this thing, you'd be like, absolutely you do, which has been the same for the IC Championship. So I'm not 100% sure. LA Knight will probably walk away with it. That's a boring answer. And again, make sure you let me know your answers below. And please do subscribe. I'm going for Carmella Hayes. I think it's his time, and I think he's put in the work. We're also going to have an absolutely mad Women's Tag Team Fatal 4-Way, because it's Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair versus Damage Control versus the Metaphor, I suppose, Lash Legend and Cara Jackson versus Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Now, if you want to tell me it's bizarre that Damage Control as well as Legend and Jackson are also getting shots, even though they've had shots and they lost, I totally agree with you, but sometimes it's just good to have representation on a show like this that is controversial. So I'm glad we are doing this. I don't think it's the time to take off Jade and Bianca. Now, of course, because we are doing a Fatal 4-Way, you open up the door to have them lose without them losing. Although it's a Fatal 4-Way, does that mean elimination rules? No, it doesn't, because Fatal means one and done. But because I would rather take all of that multi-person nonsense and put it into the US title match, I don't think we should do it here. I think it makes no difference if Jade and Bianca win. Again, while I'm happy we have done this, it has come out of nowhere. It's kind of like we put this on the show, so it is on the show once again. So we're sort of highlighting certain people. But I think when Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair lose, one, it should tie into their eventual breakup and probably a WrestleMania match, as they do go off on their separate ways. But two, you want it to feel like, oh my gosh, this is the time to do it. This is the time to pull the trigger. And while if any of them won, it would be okay. Again, it just kind of doesn't feel like you're going to get the most out of it. Whereas we could tell some more stories, we could build some more heat, and we could build some more fire. So yeah, there's not a lot really going on there in a good way. Once again, it's kind of a bit random, but keep it on Jade and Bianca and use it as a storytelling device for them to break up, but also take someone like a Damage Control and just picking a random team so that when they win, we can be like, at least we're still focusing on these women tag team titles. Because finally, they do feel like they mean something that hasn't been the same for a while. We also have a super interesting match because it is officially Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton. That was made on SmackDown recently, thanks to Triple H. I kind of talked about it on the SmackDown video we did after the fact. I think Kevin Owens has got to win. Because if Kevin Owens is going to beat up Randy Orton by a bus, and Kevin Owens is going to beat up Cody Rhodes by his bus, man, he likes people being beat up by buses. If all of a sudden he comes back after taking a mini hiatus from WWE, and he loses, he becomes Shinsuke Nakamura when he started punching AJ Styles in the balls over and over again. What was even the point, man? You picked the dark side and you didn't get any success from it. And it doesn't matter if he cheats, okay? If he is going to become super duper villain and go on to probably take on Cody Rhodes at Saturday Night's Main Event for the World Championship, give him some edge, man. I'm not Adam Copeland, but give him some attitude and give him some kind of personality where now he's like, I will do whatever it takes. And maybe he could even win the championship. Again, I've talked about that on a different video, so I won't talk about it here, but I think you could give him the belt for a month or so and it would be absolutely brilliant. But scalping Randy Orton is a huge deal. I don't care how he does it. Once again, he can cheat. He can use right at the ring post, simple the steel steps, just smash him with a steel chair, throw him out on the announce table. I just think Kevin Owens needs to pop on that SmackDown 5-6 days after this and be like, I took out Randy Orton and now Cody Rhodes, I am coming to you. And again, there can be asterisks here so that when Randy's talking, he'd be like, excuse me, dude, you did take me out, but you also stabbed me with a fork, and that's totally okay. You know this match is going to be good because they're friends behind the scenes and they're also phenomenal workers. I am super excited about this. I think it's going to be a story match. I think it's going to tie into a bigger narrative, and ultimately, in a few months when we get to the end of this, it probably is Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. I mean, that could happen after WrestleMania, depending on what's going on with the final boss. So I'm just excited. I'm going for Kevin Owens. I talked about this recently too. I think Kevin Owens is in my top 5 of all time now. He is absolutely one of my modern day GOATs. So make it happen. That's not a diss on Randy Orton either. Randy Orton is a genuine legend and one day will go into the Hall of Fame probably at least 9 times. But sometimes it's not your night, pal. That's what John Cena always says in interviews. And it's not his night. It really, really isn't. Him beating Kevin Owens only affects Kevin Owens and you don't get any ramifications from it. So make it happen, WWE. Make this bored a-hole happy, even though you shouldn't book for me. It'd be a terrible idea. And put over Kevin Owens. When we get to Gunther versus Cody Rhodes for yet another horrible-looking Saudi Arabia title or Crown Jewel title, whatever the flub we're calling it, I think we're getting the ultimate in ludicrousness here. And I tell you this, you can get mad at me, go in those comments, flip out and say, Simon, you're an absolute idiot. It's only because you don't have hair. If you want to have Goldberg pop up and fly like AJ Styles all the way to Saudi Arabia to screw over Gunther just because Gunther said some horrible things about his kid, do it, man. I'm Dr. Robotnik and I want the chaos. It's also a perfect out for this because I tell you, if Gunther beats Cody Rhodes or Cody Rhodes beat Gunther, clean as a whistle, and they don't turn up on Raw or SmackDown and say, excuse me, can I have their title? It makes no sense because even though those specific championships aren't on the line, if I was Gunther, for example, and I pinned Cody Rhodes after a bomb of power or I choke him out, I'd be like, well, I want a match with him and I want to win that title. Otherwise, what are we doing? It doesn't make any sense. And I know that WWE will ignore all this as soon as we're out the other side of Crown Jewel, but that still annoys me a little bit. Whereas, if Goldberg gets involved, once again, there's a huge asterisk there, and you can understand why Cody Rhodes be like, maybe I don't want to talk about that, because Billy Boy came back, and he did that there. Also, once again, I know I'm repeating myself, not a Survivor Series, don't do it there, but either on Saturday Night's Main Event or that first ever Netflix show, I would pick that one. Didn't mean to do that with my hand. That's where I do Goldberg versus Gunther. That's only because at Saturday Night's Main Event, I think you should do Gunther versus Damian Priest for the World Championship, although you may have to do that the other way around. If Goldberg does come back, it doesn't even matter. What I'm saying is we need some top-tier matches for Saturday Night's Main Event, and you absolutely want that first Netflix show to feel like a pay-per-view. And if you put Goldberg on it, people will tune in. Do not forget as well that Saturday Night's Main Event is on network TV, and Goldberg is a draw. You like him, I hate him, he absolutely brings people in. People see him as a big deal. And if you want to set it up by doing it here, I actually think it's a great get-out-of-jail free card. And yes, WWE shouldn't have put this match on anyway if they were going to be like, oh man, our back's against the wall. But it is what it is. We are here, so let's just have some stupid fun with it. Again, we have 52 weeks of programming a year. If one of the shows, which is a little bit daft, can't have a daft ending, then what are we even doing? And listen, I'm an Attitude Era guy. I'm an old school fan. I would pop for it, even though it brings up issues as long as Goldberg doesn't beat Gunther. That's the main thing. He screws him over here, and then Gunther can whip his ass. It's not going to be a long match because Bill totally understands about how he should be booked, and I'd be totally cool with that. And then Goldberg can have the final match that he never got under a WWE banner, and Gunther can walk around going, ha ha ha, I beat a legend of the sport. I don't have a problem with it. It kind of makes Cody Rhodes look a bit goofy, but if anyone can handle goofiness, it's Cody Rhodes because he is that damn good. So I guess I'm saying Cody's going to win because of interference by Goldberg. I know, I would hate me too. Now, we're going to throw one last match in there because apparently this is happening. Small spoiler. Go away if you don't want small spoilers. But I do know that on SmackDown, because it got taped next week, Roman Reigns does get back together with the Bloodline. And apparently on Crown Jewel, we are going to do Roman Reigns and the Usos taking on Bloodline 2.0, which will either be Solo, Tama, and Tanga, or we'll put Jacob Fatu in there too. Now, I can see this happening because it's superstar power, and we've already talked about the Crown Jewel shows. But I guess if you do want to set up OG Bloodline versus 2.0 Bloodline at Survivor Series and War Games, maybe they can do something here. My only worry is, I mean, obviously it'll be 4-on-4 there and Sami Zayn will join, and maybe Sami Zayn's on this show too. I'm a bit worried that's giving too much away. I would much rather not see them fight until we got to War Games. So while I don't know if that's true or not, which is difficult, but I can tell you now, if we do it, it's ending in a no contest. Nobody is winning that. Absolutely not. Because you do not want a winner or a loser, even with shenanigans, before you get to Survivor Series. We can just zoom through that one. If we are doing the first Bloodline versus Bloodline out in Saudi, nobody will win. It will be thrown out. It will probably just be a massive fight when Jacob Fatu gets in there and throws a bunch of super kick and just acts like the awesome guy that he is. Maybe it ends in a disqualification, but again, that's not going to really mean anything. I'm talking about definite winners and losers that we should wait until Survivor Series. So, yes. I mean, if there is a winner, it will be original Bloodline via DQ, but it won't be, right? It'll be thrown out, be no contest, and we can just move on and do something else. But all things considered, that card has actually come together pretty well. I'm actually quite looking forward to it, and I think there's some good matches on there. And if we do get all this nonsense I've talked about, at least we'll have stuff to chat about on videos, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, as always, make sure you let me know your predictions in the comments below. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the bell, notify yourself on all apps, including the mobile one. I beg you, please. It would help my channel massively. Otherwise, it's grillermind.com/Simon. You can get 10% off. There's links in the description below. Please do click it and check it out. Again, pre-workouts, amino acid, EAAs, multivitamins, omega-3s. It ships worldwide, and I wouldn't pimp this stuff, and I didn't use it myself, and I didn't believe in it, but I really do. If you want to work out at home too, you can go to Go Fitness. You code Simon20. Again, I help make those videos, so I know they worked because they whooped my butt. Otherwise, it's patreon.com/Simon316. Simon316 on social media. Please come give me a follow. Simon J. Miller on TikTok. Simon Miller on Cameo if you'd want one. I'm wearing one of my stupid t-shirts. ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller. All of this helps the channel, so if you are looking a way to help out, that would be super duper awesome. But mostly, watch this video. Click the video on the screen to watch another one. That's the most important of it all. And I appreciate you, and I'll see you soon.